Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into Plug Power. This hydrogen fuel cell company has been on an absolute tear. And we're going to break down a technical report to figure out what the charts are telling us now.
So in early October, this stock went on just a wild ride. We're talking a surge of over 150% from its lows in late September. And what was driving it? A massive wave of hype in the whole hydrogen sector. But you know how these things go. Since hitting that peak, the stocks pulled back a lot. And that's left a ton of investors wondering, okay, what's next? So let's dive in and see what the technicals are saying. All right, so to have any idea where we might be headed, we got to get our bearings first. Let's start with a snapshot of where the stock is right now, based on the report's key price levels.
Okay, so when this analysis was done, the price was sitting at $3.40. But here's the interesting part. Look at where that is in its 52-week range. It's nearly 70% of the way up from the low. So even with that big drop, it's still holding strong in the upper half of its range for the year. That tells you it's held on to a lot of those gains.
And this is where we start to see a real tug of war. The report points out this tension, right? In the super short term, like the 5-day average, things look weak. But if you zoom out to the long term, say the 200-day average, the price is still way above it. So what does that mean? It means the big picture uptrend is still very much alive, creating this real dilemma for anyone trying to figure out their next move. So let's really dig into that conflict. We're going to read the technical tea leaves here and look at what the detailed indicators are telling us about 3 key things: the trend, the momentum, and the volatility.
Okay, first up, trend strength. And think of it like this. It's not just about which direction the stock is going, it's about how much conviction is behind that move. Is it a powerful, confident push, or is it just kind of drifting? There's an indicator called ADX that helps us measure exactly that. And wow, just look at this. You can see it just how powerful that move really was. On the ADX, anything over 25 is considered a strong trend. Plug Power's score, it's over 50. That is a massive signal that the big rally we saw wasn't just random noise. No, this was a strong directional move with some serious conviction.
But here's the thing. Trend strength is only part of the story. If the trend is the direction the car is going, momentum is its speed. And after a huge sprint like that, you gotta check the speedometer to see if it's still accelerating. And what are the gauges telling us? Well, the key takeaway is that pretty much all of them are saying the same thing. The engine is cooling off. Indicators like the MACD and the RSI, they're showing that intense buying pressure is starting to fade. The stock is still up, sure, but the rate of the climb is slowing. The car is still rolling, but it's definitely taken its foot off the gas.
All right, last piece of the technical puzzle, volatility. This basically tells us how wild the ride is going to be. Are we on a smooth highway or a really bumpy country road? Well, for Plug Power, you better buckle up because it's the bumpy road.
The report looks at things like Bollinger Bands, which are basically just lines that show how much the price is swinging around its average. And right now, those bands are super wide, and that's a direct result of that crazy rally. So what this tells us is pretty simple. Expect more big price swings. This ride is probably going to stay choppy for a while.
Okay, let's put it all together. We've got a really strong underlying trend, but we also have fading short-term momentum and high volatility. So with all this conflicting info, what's the final verdict from the analyst? And this really cuts to the chase. The analysis gives us a split decision. For the very near future, we're talking the next week or two, the recommendation is to be cautious. Think sell or hold. But if you look out a little further, say 1 to 3 months, the whole outlook shifts to mildly bullish.
So why the split personality? Well, the logic is actually pretty clear. The short-term caution is all about that fading momentum we just talked about. The stock just needs to take a breather and digest those huge gains. But the medium-term optimism, that's all thanks to that incredibly strong ADX square, which hints that the powerful, big-picture uptrend could kick back into gear once the dust settles. But wait, before we finish, there's one more thing. The report includes a really critical warning that puts all these charts and numbers into perspective. It's a piece of the puzzle you absolutely have to see. And here it is. The analyst makes it crystal clear. Everything we've talked about is technical only. For a stock like Plug Power, which is pretty speculative, the fundamentals, stuff like their cash burn, their partnerships, that stuff is absolutely crucial. The charts just don't tell you the whole story.
And that really leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? In a market that's so hyped up, in a stock that's this speculative, how much of the story do the charts really tell? It's something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and we'll see you next time.